In the Psalms, Part 1. Then I looked, and behold, a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written on their foreheads. Beyond its function as a hymnal to be used in public and private worship, the Book of Psalms is an eminently prophetic book written by prophets. The New Testament authors use it as a prophetic text to show that Yeshua was the Messiah. But Psalms are not limited to do prophesying about Yeshua's earthly ministry, but are rich in various themes related to the history of redemption. Psalm 122, the heavenly sanctuary. Psalms 15 and 24, the holy mountain. Psalm 119, the name of Elohim. Psalm 5, the redeemed. Psalm 51, the proclamation of the gospel. The celestial sanctuary. I rejoice with those who said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. By studying the details of Israel's sanctuary and temple, we see how Elohim related to his people and how he taught the plan of redemption. By moving the ark, David centralized divine worship in Jerusalem. That was where the house of Elohim was located. Psalm 122 prophetically points to the gathering of the redeemed into the new Jerusalem to worship at the real heavenly sanctuary. Revelation offers several visions of this heavenly sanctuary, from which the courtyard, which represents the earth, is excluded. The lampstand, the golden altar, the ark. Examining Psalm 122, we can also appreciate other themes closely linked to the message of Revelation: praise, judgment, peace, security. Messiah, our great high priest, is a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which the Lord pitched and not men. The prophet was permitted to behold the first apartment of the sanctuary in heaven, and he saw there the 7 lamps of fire and the golden altar, represented by the golden candlestick, the altar of incense in the sanctuary on earth. Here he beheld the ark of his testament, represented by the sacred chest constructed by Moses to contain the law of Elohim. Moses made the earthly sanctuary according to the passion that he had seen. Paul declares that the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry, when completed, were the patterns of things in the heavens. Hebrews and John says that the Israel sanctuary in heaven, the sanctuary in which Yeshua ministers in our behalf, is the great original of which the sanctuary built by Moses was a copy. The holy mountain. Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent, who may live on your holy mountain. Mount Zion occupied part of the city of Jerusalem, and the extension was used to name the hill where the temple was built, originally called Mount Moriah. It is also called the Holy Mountain, as it is a symbol of Elohim's throne. In prophetic writings, it is used to define the place where the redeemed will gather, who will be able to stand on Mount Zion with Yeshua. Psalm 115 and 24 define the characteristics of those who are worthy to be there. He who walks uprightly does righteousness and does not lie. He who does not slander does no harm to his neighbor, nor does he allow evil to be spoken of. He who honors those who fear Elohim does not change, even if it is detrimental. He who does not love money nor can be bribed. He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who is neither proud nor a liar. It's clear that none of us on our own meet all these requirements. Therefore, we can only be there by the right grace and power of Yeshua. Praise be to him. The name of Elohim. In the night, Lord, I remember your name, that I may keep your law. Mount Zion is also closely linked to the name of Elohim. The name, especially in biblical times, was associated with a person's character. Therefore, the name of Elohim inscribed on the forehead of the redeemed goes beyond the 4 Hebrew letters that define it. Yod He Waw He. Elohim's name is his unique and unrepeatable character. I am who I am is his name. It is his character, is his glory and his goodness. When the psalmist evoked the name of Elohim, meditated on his character, he was overcome with the desire to keep Elohim's law. Why? Because Elohim's law is a transcript of his character. Elohim's name will be inscribed on the foreheads of those who love Elohim and desire to obey his law. To redeem. For you are not a Elohim who is pleased with wickedness. With you, people are not welcome. Psalm 5 draws a sharp contrast between those who accept Elohim and those who reject him. This psalm anticipates the definition of the two groups facing each other in the end time. Those who receive the name of Elohim, or the name of the beast. The name of the beast. They shall not dwell with Elohim. They worship the beast. They are liars. They will be punished. They blaspheme against Elohim. The name of Elohim. They will dwell with Elohim. They worship Elohim. They do not lie. They will be redeemed. They proclaim salvation with joy. The proclamation of the gospel. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, so that sinners will turn back to you. We cannot deceive ourselves, we are all sinners. As sinners, we are not worthy to proclaim the gospel of salvation. It was the sentiment of Isaiah and of King David. But there is good news. Our experience can be the same as that of these two prophets. Both were forgiven of their sin. Both began proclaiming Elohim's message to the world. The threefold message proclaimed to the world in the last generation. The last two are a call to abandon sin. Therefore, it is essential that before pointing out sin, its solution be proclaimed through the first message, the everlasting gospel. Central theme of the Bible, the theme about which every other in the whole book clusters, is the redemption plan, restoration in the human soul of the image of Elohim. From the first intimation of hope in sentence pronounced in Eden to that last glorious promise of the revelation, shall see his face and his name shall be in their foreheads. The burden of every book and every passage of the Bible is the unfolding of this wondrous theme, hence uplifting the power of Elohim, which gives us the victory through our Lord Yeshua Messiah.